We are fully live.
Okay. Does that mean that we can begin, Mr. Riffle?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can you call the roll, please?
Reminders,
Present.
Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Present.
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Fisher,
Present.
Tom, can you give the invocation for us, please?
Yes, sir. Please pray with me. Our kind and heavenly Father, I want to thank you for the many blessings that you've given to each of us today. We ask for your guidance and comfort and care this evening for the citizens of Woodward. We ask that you be with each of us that have a part in this meeting for the city commission of the city of Woodward. We ask that you guide our decisions so that they're made in what's best for the community and city of Woodward. These things we ask in thy name. Amen.
We have a confirmation of compliance. We need an announcement of compliance with the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, Title 25, Oklahoma Statute, Sections 301 at SEC, including the posting of the notice and meeting agenda, the notice that the meeting is being conducted by video conference, and the announcement of the methods available for public observation and participation.
Mr. Sims, do you confirm that this is compliant?
Yes, I do. This is based upon the changes to the Open Meetings Act from Senate Bill 661. And also just an announcement that should the video of the commissioners or the audio of the commissioners cut out, that the meeting should be stopped and then reconvened once that is corrected.
Very well. Does anybody have any questions for Aaron about that?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Aaron. We appreciate your help and support. Item number 1 on our agenda this evening is the consent docket. All items listed in the consent docket are deemed routine in nature. Any commissioner desiring to discuss an item on the consent docket may request that it be removed from the consent docket to be placed for discussion as the next item. It will then be considered separately. A, approved minutes of the regular meeting of March 16th, 2020.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent docket as presented.
I'll second. Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Andrea, did you get the proper parties there?
yes, sir, I did.
Okay, great. Do we have any further discussion about that? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye. Okay, number 3, consider and take action with respect to adoption of ordinance number 1696, closing to public use the public way in part of Block 4, Lot 12 in Wildwood Hills addition to the city of Woodward, Woodward County, Oklahoma.
So for a geographic reference, that's actually the south boundary of Wildwood. Am I correct? And there is no alley back there. It's platted, but there is no usable alley there. And so we would be closing that for public use. We have no utilities back there at this time.
There haven't been any objections to that?
no, sir.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for adoption of ordinance number 1696.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 1696. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Okay, and do we want to declare that an emergency, Mr. Brown?
So moved.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to declare the adoption of this ordinance an emergency. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye. Number 4, consider and take action with respect to approval or disapproval of the City of Woodward emergency paid sick leave policy.
As you know, you've received a couple of versions of this because it was still being finalized as of today with OMAG trying to marry the two different relief packages that the federal government has passed. And this is you should have a copy of the most recent one and that you would be considering tonight. And the way that you determine that is on page 2 under paid sick leave or paid sick time. Item 2, there's an A, B, and a C there. C was originally omitted. The C on that states 2/3 of their regular rate of pay, up to $20 and $10,000 in an aggregate. Does everybody have that?
Yes.
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 Okay, then you have the right policy. This is just COVID related emergency guidelines that allow us to provide that 80 hours to sick leave for our employees as has been legislated. So that's reduced to policy form for this purpose.
Okay.
And then that is eligible, Alan, for federal reimbursement.
That is eligible for federal reimbursement. We'll see how that comes about, but that is the issue for everybody, yes.
Okay. I would move that we approve the City of Woodward emergency paid sick leave policy.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the City of Woodward emergency paid sick leave policy. Do we have any further discussion? If not, Andrea, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Okay, number 5, consider and take action with respect to approval or disapproval of the City of Woodward Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act.
Once again, this is a result of the CARES Act legislation and expands the ability for employees to access the family medical leave, provided that it is coronavirus or COVID-19 related.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the medical leave expansion policy.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Family and Medical Leave Expansion Policy. Do we have any further discussion about that? If not, could you call the roll, please, Andrea?
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Okay, number 6, consider and take action with respect to approval or disapproval of labor agreement between the City of Woodward and Bill Young, Bill Stewart, FOP Lodge 187.
We were fortunate in the regard that both of the bargaining units basically understand the situation this year and are basically agreed to roll over on the renewal of their agreement. The only change in either contract is this one change of the body armor for police officers. Some are preferring to wear an outer vest instead of an inner vest, and that allows them to carry their different tools of the trade that they pack every day in different ways. So we approved that and included the language change about not paying for 38 special training on personal firearms. So With that, there's no change, there's no monetary impact, and the firefighters, as far as theirs is the subsequent one to this, is an exact rollover with no changes whatsoever.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement between the city of Woodward and the labor agreement between the city of Woodward and Bill Young and Bill Stewart of FOP Lodge 187.
Okay,
A second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the labor agreement with FOP Lodge 187. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please, Andrea?
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye. Okay, number 7, consider and take action with respect to approval or disapproval of labor agreement between the city of Woodward and IAFF Local 2560.
I think Alan covered both of those in his comments a while ago. I'd move that we approve the agreement between the city and the firefighters, local 2560.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the labor agreement between the city and IAFF Local 2560. Do we have any further discussion about that? Not, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Okay, number 8, consider and take action with respect to adoption of resolution number 2020-4 of the city of Woodward, Oklahoma, the city approving the incurrence of indebtedness by the Woodward Municipal Authority, the authority issuing its sales tax revenue note, Series 2020, the note, providing that the organizational document creating the authority is subject to the provisions of the note indenture, authorizing the issuance of said note, waiving competitive bidding with respect to the sale of said note, and approving the proceedings of the authority pertaining to the sale of said note, authorizing a sales tax agreement by and between the city and the authority pertaining to the year-to-year pledge of certain sales tax revenues and containing other provisions related thereto or relating thereto.
Okay, we have both Nate Ellis and it looks like Alan Brooks with us this evening from Public Finance Law and Chris Gander from BOK. Nate, you look like you're ready to address this.
Yeah, I'll take it. I don't know, Chris, were you able to ever get on here?
I did. I got off and then came back in on my phone, and I'm here now.
Okay, can you
Hi,
see?
Chris.
Can they see you? Can we see you?
We can see him.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, Chris, I'll go ahead and let Chris handle it. And I'm here for support.
So thanks for having us. Obviously, we're talking about refinancing some of the debt you have outstanding. You have a summary in front of you that we provided previously, and kind of over the last 30 days, I mean, the world has obviously been changing a lot. And so we've had several balls in the air as it relates to your financing, and kind of on a high, I'm going to give you a little quick history, a high overview. We're looking at 3 transactions that you guys have outstanding. The 2013 sales tax note was originally $9 million. It's outstanding at 2.8%. Then you had the 2015 note, it was originally 5.5 million. It's at 2.55% interest rate. Both of those were secured with sales tax. And then you have a 4.5 million, which was for City Hall, and it was just secured by the actual property itself. And it was at 2.35. So we were working on rates of historically low rates, and
make a speech.
thought we were going to be able to refinance all this as one transaction with one financial institution. And then as we kind of progressed down the road, they started getting more leery about sales tax deals. And so they kind of got uncomfortable. We kind of talked them into taking the 4.5 million out, the 2015 A note, and then just doing the 2015 and the 2013. And then in that process, we talked to Bruce Benbrook at Stock Exchange to see if he would refinance that third piece, the 2015A, which he said he would because he was going to be losing the 2015 sales tax note. So we thought we had all that figured out. And then this morning we got calls from a financial institution, and they basically said that they weren't doing any sales tax deals nationwide unless they have strong deposit relationships with them and it's kind of in their primary market. So with that, we started going to Plan C, I guess. Talk to Bruce Benbrook. Some of the other financial institutions we talked to, BB&T, which has one of those at the City Hall project, they quit doing municipal deals about 3 weeks ago. So talked to Bruce, asked if he'd be interested, instead of taking the City Hall project, the smaller transaction, which was the 2020B, doing the 2020A. So he said he would be interested in doing that. We negotiated a rate with him at 1.5%. And so at the 1.5%, that still generates about 309,000 gross savings. The present value in today's dollars is 290,000. So we're recommending you go forward with that and award it to Bruce. I mean, he in my book, he's kind of the hero on this and kind of is saving the day based on what a lot of these other, large regional and national banks are doing right now. I mean, everybody's just kind of afraid to lend, but once again, on high level, we get in the weeds if we want to, but we're taking two transactions. One's at 2.8% and the other one's at 2.55%. And you're going to refinance those at 1.5%. And by doing that, you're going to save that approximately $300,000 that I mentioned. So Nate or Alan, I don't know.
Well, Chris, I was going to add, I mean, kind of an important element to that is that, the way those savings are spread out right now, the 13 deal goes out to 2025 and matures. The 2015 actually goes all the way out to 2029. But the way it's going to be structured, it'll be level debt service. But for the next 5 years, you're going to have $110,000 less in debt service every year. So in the immediate future, that might be very helpful anyways.
And I'll add just for clarity. So, I mean, we really, on the 2020B, which will, kind of up next, I mean, we kind of are saying to table that, or, I mean, no action. That's prepayable on any interest payment date. So, 6 months from now, I think the next interest payment will be N1. Maybe the world has settled back down. I mean, that doesn't have the sales tax. It's the lowest rate right now of the three deals that we talked about. It's a little bit longer. So we just think that doing the other two make a lot of sense. The other one, we recommend and hold off, and maybe we'll come back 6 months from now and revisit it, or maybe not. We'll see at that time.
So to summarize for tonight's agenda purposes, the resolution that you have before you on item number 8 that we're currently considering does what he just described. It combines those two notes into one and will allow them to proceed forward with securing that 1.5% rate from Stock Exchange Bank. Then with item 9, we will just not act on it at all tonight. That would be the 2020B that he referenced. So the only action tonight on the city side for this purpose, you heard the pros for it. Certainly we need the annual savings over the next 5 years, and the premiums of that 100,000, 110,000 a year is huge for us right now. So we do recommend going forward with this, and that would be the process.
Alan, is there any specific timeline when item 9 would come back on the agenda?
Well, I think that's what he was referencing, looking at as we approach October. See how things fare in the fall, and if we'll have any additional lenders that may be there that would consider this.
Sure.
Hear me? Were you able to hear
Yes.
that? Okay, thank you.
I think a pack of wild dogs ate Bob, and we may have to send the cops over there.
Steve, is he back yet?
I'm back.
Okay, he's back.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions about this?
No, I just know we need to do it too, and I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-4.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2020-4. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Minders.
Aye. Okay, number 9, do we need to go ahead and read that since we're not going to take any action on it, or just pass it over?
I think
No,
you just
you-
passed it over.
So we're just going to pass number 9 over and go straight on to number 10, which is consider and take action with respect to affirmation and approval of emergency declaration of the mayor issued on March 17th, 2020, and the order and proclamation issued pursuant to civil emergency authority limiting and closing certain commercial businesses of the mayor issued on March 20th, 2020.
Aaron, you want to give a little background on why you seek this confirmation?
Well, while it's not necessary to provide those, to provide confirmation to give those emergency declarations authority, I just thought it would be wise if those were brought before the commission as a whole, and ask the commission as a whole to affirm that action that was taken by the mayor pursuant to the authority granted at the prior meeting where you invoked the provision from the charter that would allow the mayor to act in emergency circumstances for the protection of the public. So you guys are, I'm sure, are very familiar and aware of the provisions of those emergency orders, and they now comply with the governor's statewide orders. But just thought it'd be nice or good to have in our record that was confirmed and affirmed by the commission as a whole.
I sure don't mind making a motion to approve and affirm the emergency declaration. I would note, though, that I do have the utmost confidence in our mayor and his ethics, and I don't mind doing it, but I sure don't mind the authority that we gave him at the last meeting to act on our behalf either. So I would move that we affirm and approve.
I'll second.
Okay, well, first of all, I appreciate that. We have a motion and a second to affirm and approve our emergency declarations. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bogdan,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Minders,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Okay, do we have any reports, Alan?
Yes, you're aware of what we've been doing publicly as far as the actions that we've been taking behind the mayor's proclamations over the past few weeks. That started the day after we last met. But to bring you up to speed on how that status was, if you recall, when we last met, there were 10 cases in the state, period. We now have 1,327. There weren't any deaths at that time. Today we have 51. We're one of 58 counties with confirmed cases, and that list on all counts grows every day. So yes, the actions that were taken weren't necessarily all well received, but they weren't necessarily resisted either. I think people are by and large trying to do the right things, but we have had to take some steps on that. So to give you some ideas of what we've been doing internally during that time, I want to give a time frame for that too. That first day of on the 17th of March, when the first proclamation was issued and city offices were closed, obviously we began some sanitizing protocols, and we started identifying ways we could assist our employees, our workforce that could be expected out of 180 people, we would experience some impact of COVID-19. And what we could do about this, obviously this was before sick leave expansion acts were taken. One helpful resource on that is a city manager association that had a thread that hundreds of city managers got on and shared what was going on in their communities, what steps were being taken. Matt Love, the municipal attorney with OMEG, also was part of that thread, and we were able to get some good guidance, at least on that, and some issues that were arising in other communities, being able to offset that. Obviously, the 20th, they went to a higher level of emergency with further level of closures, and that became a bit of an education process for us. We actually had our City Hall staff, the billing department, as well as the community service department, community development department, were actively calling restaurants at that point, and those food services that were going to be impacted most by that, and informing them as early as we possibly could of when that effective time would be and what would be the requirements following that. So we took those steps at that point. We also initiated an employee effort that would identify how we could, as an employee group, help the people that would be impacted in the community because of the various people that we know that might have different needs. How could we address that as an employee group? On the 26th of March, the following week, we also initiated a practice that alters existing policy that didn't change the benefit in sick leave. And what I'm saying there is, now for under COVID-19 related issues, and this was also before the expanded sick leave, we initiated a practice that would allow borrowing of sick time up to 80 hours. People can't donate sick time. They can lend it under these provisions, that when the employee then returned to work, that benefit accrual would be repaid to the lending employee's sick leave bank. So that was a practice that I don't expect we will see, because I think there will be enough necessary federal measures and perhaps even some state measures taken that would impact our ability to continue to serve our workforce. The following day, we issued formal orders for all personnel to take heightened precautionary safety measures, personal measures. We split up crews. We limited the vehicles to one person per vehicle, except in the case of solid waste, and then we have to have two, but that was going from a 3-person cab to a 2-person cab. We have changed some service routes and that type of thing. Then last Friday, the 3rd of April, we launched a Together Woodward Facebook page. That is a clearinghouse of information for available services primarily. It also highlights the ways that people can engage and even thrive in a sequestered environment. We have several staff members working on that, Andrea, Mickey, Kim, but it's being coordinated by Rachel Van Horn, and that's an active program in a lot of ways. They have sewing stations set up as well for masks that are being made. They have also are coordinating some of the efforts on the food drive to help the Hope Center. So there are a number of different elements to that program that's actively underway, and we're repurposing available staff to even help with that in 4-hour blocks as we can. As of today, we have 4 people in at-risk stay-at-home orders. We have 1 in self-isolation, 8 employees in remote work status, and we've had 4 doctor-ordered isolation, but 2 have now returned to work. Everybody is doing their part, and we're trying to find ways that we can continue to identify our organizational needs and be able to address those as to be able to continue to deliver services to the community. Everybody is doing their part, but as you see right here, and as you've interacted with our IT department over the last few days, these past 2 weeks have been a real grind for that department. Ryan and his, with Dakota and Garrett in that department have exerted a lot of energy to enable us to have these virtual meetings as efficiently as possible, but also this is how we now communicate on a regular basis, staff-wise. This is how we do our staff meetings. This is how we communicate individually, face-to-face in this medium. So it took a number of visits to, you can imagine we have this down to superintendent level. So there's a number of people that are able to access this way. Focus on a little bit of positives going on in the community at the same time. We have had a detailed teleconference with CF Industries and their management team on steps that they are taking to keep that their product continues to be at full production. They have split their crews and have taken extensive measures to maintain a safe production and also their streams through distancing measures, isolation measures, and their scheduling. We also had an initial strong teleconference with Pioneer Telephone that is in their early planning stages of a significant infrastructure investment and build out in Woodward. We've also already shared shape files on utilities with them. So that's a project that is much needed and it looks like it's taking place. There has been also, under the fact that we've had area or local companies impacted by the relief efforts, I've been contacted by a local oil field company that will have a large number of employees who will be idled for 2.5 months, but they're protected under the payroll protection program, and he would like to see them productive during that time, and has offered their services to us as we can identify projects that they may be able to assist with. There's a lot of hoops to clear in that, but when you're talking hundreds of employees that may be able to do that, we can certainly find some way we can engage some of that to some level at least. There's a citywide initiative that going on by these folks that have 3D printers. We have about 60 plus local individuals forming an ad hoc group to produce PPE in the form of visors, of face shields, and door openers. They have a pattern of door openers that where people don't actually have to physically touch that. All of these things are being generated out of as little expense as we can help them incur through, I know that Matt Landauer's provided some filament for some of those different users, but that is a local initiative and it's certainly a great thing to have. And yesterday there was a full siren salute of our healthcare workers by our law enforcement and fire services, EMS, that all gathered near the hospital and turned on their lights and sirens and began a parade around the hospital. And I think that they saluted the hard work that is going on to keep people safe in Woodward. There's going to be more good news to come out of this, but at the time we have right now, I think that that covers the things that you aren't aware of. Other than, I will say that Ed Laird's class of 1974 has raised and will be giving away free food from the Dairy Queen tomorrow and potentially Wednesday. 90 to 100 free meals going out those doors right there. So if you know somebody who's needing those, they will deliver those out to the curbside. My class members tomorrow. I believe that's 4 to 6. That's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything. Roscoe, you have anything?
No, thanks.
Tom,
No, sir.
Mr. Brown,
I do have one thing. I got a call from a concerned citizen. He said I could use his name, Ron Howeiler. He was asking about the folks that are here from out of town that are asking for money on the street corners. I think they represent a church maybe in Oklahoma City. And his big concern was, do they have permission to do that? And is it smart that they're in town right now coming from a hotspot of COVID activity, to smaller communities? So I told him I would bring that up tonight and we could talk about it. So
This
I'm
evening.
assuming, go ahead, Tom.
They were over at First and Downs this evening.
Yeah, he lives right over there.
Yes.
Yeah, he called me about that too. He's, and I think it is a legitimate concern.
Well, we'll have them visited with and contacted and see what they can do with that.
Is there a permit process for that, Ellen? Do they have to get permission to?
If
to
they were
panhandle?
selling anything, we don't necessarily have anything. Sean, you want to, with your law enforcement background, I mean, how did those cases get addressed?
Typically, we'll look at it as interference with traffic and those types of things. So we'll get our law enforcement involved to actually make contact with them and look at what they're doing. But we'll have to look at that probably tomorrow, or as we send someone out to visit with them and look and see what we can do.
Sounds good. Thank you.
okay. Is that all, John?
Yes, sir.
All right, Steve, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we are adjourned. And I will call the special meeting for the Woodward Municipal Authority to order. Can you call the roll, please, Andrea?
Chairman Minders,
Present.
Trustee Hill,
Present.
Trustee Bogdan,
Present.
Trustee Brown,
Present.
Trustee Fisher.
Present.
Okay, scheduled business, confirmation of compliance, announcement of compliance with the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, Section 301 et sec, including the posting of the notice and meeting agenda, the notice that the meeting is being conducted via video conference, and the announcement of the methods available for public observation and participation. I'm assuming, Aaron, your opinion about this meeting is the same as for our previous meeting, that we are in compliance with the Open Meeting Act.
That is correct.
Okay, anybody have any questions about that? If not, we'll go right on to the consent docket. Number one, all items listed in the consent docket are deemed routine in nature. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent docket may request that it be removed from the consent docket to be placed for discussion as the next item. It will then be considered separately. A, approved minutes of the regular meeting of March 16th, 2020.
I move we approve the consent docket as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Trustee Bogdan,
Aye.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
Chairman Minders,
Aye.
Trustee Hill.
All right.
Okay, number three, consider and take action with respect to approval or disapproval of participation in Trash Off Day by allowing customers free landfill privileges on April 25th, 2020.
This may be the ideal time to do that.
Yeah, we also need the rain.
Yeah, we always get rain too on that, but at the same time, it will give everybody plenty of notice that they will have that, and they can start cleaning now if they are looking things to do at home while they're isolated.
I make a motion, we approve the trash off day.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of the Trash Off Day. Do we have any further discussion? Knox, call the roll, please.
Trustee Hill,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
Chairman Minders,
Aye.
Trustee Bogdan,
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Okay, number 4, consider and take action with respect to adoption of resolution number 2020-6, authorizing the Woodward Municipal Authority, the authority to issue its sales tax revenue note, series 2020, in the aggregate amount of $8,480,000, the note, waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the note to be sold on a negotiated basis, authorizing a sales tax agreement by and between the city of Woodward, Oklahoma, the city, and the authority pertaining to a year-to-year pledge of certain sales tax revenue, approving and authorizing execution of a note indenture, authorizing the issuance and securing the payment of the note indenture, authorizing and directing the execution of the note and other documents related to the transaction, and including professional service agreements and an escrow deposit agreement, and containing other provisions relating thereto.
Hey, I don't know if, Tom, have you been on there since we've done one of these public finance with the public law group before?
No, not since I came on the commission.
Is
No.
Alan, are you on there? I see you're, maybe not. Well, Chris or Nate, I always ask because I'm sure that Tom will get asked the question by one of his constituents, why did we waive the competitive bidding? In reality, we didn't, but for purposes of this, we did. And could you explain that? So Tom has an answer for that when.
This is Nate Ellis, Public Finance Law Group. I would appreciate you considering this tonight. The competitive bidding, this is different from construction projects. There's a statutory requirement that anytime a public trust issues debt, they would typically waive competitive bidding. That's pretty much how it's done on almost every single public trust statute. There is a competitive statutory method. It just doesn't work very well for these types of transactions. It's typically only used by cities and school districts for their general obligation bonds. But it's not very flexible because you've got to publish dates and in the paper. And if you decide you don't want to consider it that night, then you got to go through the whole process again. It just doesn't give you very much flexibility. But all it means is you waive competitive bidding, which meaning with a 75% supermajority, so 4 out of 5 of the trustees voting in favor can waive competitive bidding. But again, anytime there's a project, a construction project, even if you waive competitive bidding in connection with a debt issuance, it doesn't affect how competitive bidding applies to an actual construction project. It's a different statutory structure. Just happens to be called the same thing.
But Nate, in reality, you've gone out and solicited bids, so in a way you have competitively bid those.
Yeah,
things.
very typically. Yeah, very typically, Chris will go out. I mean, he'll have discussions with a number of different financial institutions. You know, we have a good idea of who's generally looking for what in a normal environment, which we are not in right now, unfortunately. But yeah, he's had conversations with a number of different financial institutions. So it's an informal competitive process. It just doesn't follow the statutory guidelines that would be required to call it competitive bidding. So.
And I don't think we should take lightly what the Stock Exchange Bank has done for us here, because as Chris called him our hero on this, with every major lender backing away from municipalities that are sales tax based, that's huge to be able to secure that cooperation from any bank at that point.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate, we did go through a competitive process. It just doesn't fall into the formal way we would have to do it, publishing it in the local papers multiple weeks in a row, so on and so forth, to make it where you are truly going through a competitive process. And as relates to refundings, even GO bonds generally aren't done competitively through the official process. That's the one time where you can do general obligation bonds through a negotiated transaction. So Yes, we went through a competitive process, talked to all the banks that we thought would be interested, and we're recommending what we believe is the best deal out there and available to you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, on the first part of our meeting, when we approved that one refinance, that was with stock exchange.
Yes, so
Okay.
the resolution for the municipal authority to consider is the actual issuance of the debt. What you did on the city side is you approved the action to be taken by the authority. Now the authority has to actually approve as the issuer of the debt. So that's resolution 2020-6. That's the resolution that'll authorize the sales tax note with Stock Exchange Bank.
Okay.
The resolution does read that it's a financial institution not to exceed 2%. But again, we've kind of worked this out now. We know it's 1.5%. We know it's Stock Exchange Bank. So there'll actually be a certificate that the chairman signs that designates them as the purchaser.
Okay, thank you.
You don't need to get that.
Anybody else have any questions?
The resolution was 20-6, is that correct?
2020-6, yes, sir.
2020-6. I would move that we adopt resolution 2020-6.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2020-6. Do we have any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Trustee Bogdan,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Aye.
trustee Hill, trustee Fisher,
Aye.
chairman Minders.
Aye. Okay, and it's my understanding that we're not going to take any action on item number 5. Is that correct, Alan?
That is correct.
So we don't need to read through that. Is that correct?
No, you can pass over and adjourn.
Okay. With that, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Everybody
IT.
be safe, okay?
Chris, good seeing you, Nate.
Yeah, good
Thank
seeing
you.
you all too.
See you.
Let's go.
Brooks was trolling us tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, here's probably a dumb question. To get out of the video conference,